Isaac Newton's early life started on Christmas Day, 25th of December 1642 according to the Julian calendar. The same year Galileo Galilei died, an Italian philosopher and astronomer who risked his life for challenging the Catholic Church that the Earth and other 9 planets orbits the Sun, or heliocentrism. Isaac was born at Woolsthorpe Manor, in the county of Lincolnshire in UK. His father, also named Isaac Newton, died 3 months before his son's birth. When he was 3 years of age, his mother remarried, but years later, as he grew, he hated his stepfather, that he could burn his mother's new house with the couple inside. Years later he studied at King's School Grantham from 12 to 17 years of age. As years passed, Isaac became a professor at Trinity College in Cambridge. He chose optics for his subject, but no one became interested on him, and he often teached the walls of his classroom. Theorized that the visible light we see is not just white light, but composed of many colors, called spectrum of colors. He proved it by using a prism. You can see the colors through prism distortion. He blocked the light of the sun with a prism and it disturbed the light to show its colors. That discovery changed the way how scientists thinks. He even created his own telescope, a telescope that doesn't distort colors, not like Galileo's telescope. He looked at the moon with Galileo's telescope, but was disturbed by the colors appearing outside the circumference of the moon. He discovered that this was caused by the lenses, so he removed the focusing lens, and replaced it with a mirror. He called his telescope the reflecting telescope. Back on his home, as he sits under an apple tree, an apple fell. He saw this and he began to think why things must fall to the earth. He thought of a force and called it gravity. He thought that gravity is the force holding the moon from not flying away from Earth, but why it doesn't fall. He had created a thought experiment that is very fantastic. When a cannonball is fired from a really high mountain 100 times higher than Everest.
In fact, imagine a mountain 100 times taller than Everest. And imagine an enormous gun. It may not look far, but for such a tall mountain, this range would be very great indeed. Roughly, Land's End to John O'Groats. And this picture reminds us of an important fact. The surface of the Earth is actually curved, and we must take that into account as well. As a result, the shell will travel slightly further than if the Earth were flat. And now, the next stage. Imagine a gun that's even bigger. The shells fired by this gun will travel 10 times the speed of a rifle bullet. This time the range is really vast, roughly Birmingham to Moscow, and we haven't yet taken account of the Earth's curvature. With a shell of exactly the right speed, the path follows the curve of the Earth. And this is the result. Because there's no air that high, it doesn't slow down, and gravity pulls it all the time towards the center of the Earth. The shell has become a satellite. If gravity were switched off, it wouldn't stay in orbit. It would simply fly off into space. So a satellite orbits because of gravity, not because it escaped from it.
It was really great idea. He formulated the universal laws of gravitation. He had also a great advancement in mathematics. The discovery of the fundamental theorem of calculus changed the world. But the greatest work he had done that science and math ever had was his
Filosofia e Naturalis, Principia Mathematica,
or the Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosopher, a work in 3 books by him that is primarily in motion. There are 3 laws of motion written. First law, or law of inertia. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion, unless acted upon by an external force. Second law of motion, or law of acceleration. The motion of an object is directly proportional to the magnitude of the net force, in the same direction, and inversely proportional to the mass of the object. Third law of motion, or law of action and reaction. For every action, there is an equal opposite reaction. That helped scientists to create rockets. The laws are together with the universal gravitation and other mathematical works. He had published this before he died. He moved to London from having bad reputation and experience in the Royal Society in Cambridge. Because of his mortal nemesis, Robert Hooke, he became depressed. He had nervous breakdown that made him to not sleep for many days. But that illness did not ruin his life, and instead, one day, he moved to London. He became the warden of the Royal Mint to take care of England's great recording system. He died there when he's in a sleep, and it is because of the presence of mercury in his body, and that is because of his alchemical experiments. But until this day, he was known mostly for being the greatest genius that ever lived.